Hello, friends. Welcome back. Now we'll take a little bit of a switch and kind of do try to do something a little bit different. So till now we focused on our application in Node.js, and we were actually trying to run it in a browser and also kind of working it into a Teams environment with tabs, etc. But the key thing is there was no authentication involved, no authorization involved. Everything was anonymous and everything was simple and easy, right? But so what we're trying to do now is actually trying to take a approach where we try to build an application for the service team. So this is imagine like an office where people are employed and they are using Teams inside the office, and they want to have sessions with various customers. They want to be able to bring up data from the database that we have about cars, about different things, about sales statistics, etc. Right. So when you start bringing in those kind of things like single sign-on and user authorization, etc., into the mix, going the simple like the without any help way is going to make it a little bit difficult. So what I think Microsoft has done is they have introduced what is known as the Teams SDK, Teams FX SDK, that tries to actually make your life a lot easier when you're trying to build applications inside Teams and generally Office 365, where you will actually work with single sign-on, OAuth tokens with AAD and all that, right? So all the app registrations and the graph based stuff that we were doing manually is going to taken out and is automated. Right, so there are two ways you can actually use this Teams FX SDK. You can use it as a CLI mode, and also you can integrate directly into the Teams toolkit, which is also in the Visual Studio and Visual VS Code. Right. So I need to kind of give you a walkthrough of that first, so that you can understand. And most of my work is on Node because I could not get the I could not get the Visual Studio packages and the NuGets and all that to work. But if you want to use that route, you can feel free to do so, right? So let me start off and kind of demo a very simple application and show you the benefits of using TeamsFX versus doing it manually, and that will kind of give you an appreciation. So I have VS Code installed, and then if you go to extensions here in extensions, you can search for like TeamsFX, and then this is Teams toolkit, and then you can see that I have installed it, and you just have to install it, right? That's the first step. So once you install it, there will be like a tab that opens up here in the bottom, and then you can open this, and then you can hit Teams Toolkit. So there's a lot of documentation, there's a lot of learning curve involved, but to make it simple, uh, the easiest way is to just create a new app and show you what happens, right? So create a Teams app, and then there are different types of things that we had already discussed, right? There's a tab, there is a bot, there is a SSO enabled tab, etc. Right? So now that we are building an application that needs to have SSO enabled, and it needs to be aware of who the salesperson is from the employer side, it's better to start with an SSO tab, right? And then you have an option of JavaScript or TypeScript. I have picked JavaScript because I'm familiar with it. And then it asks you for a particular folder. Let's pick that. It's good enough for now. And then you give an application name. So we can say Teams FX SSO, something like that. Hit enter, and then this what it is doing is actually building all this code behind the scenes and making it easier for you. So I can close the back window. It has a lot of documentation. Looks really cool. Because it has automated a lot of things that we would have to do manually. So that's a great thing, right? So one of the things to remember is you need to absolutely have this M365 account, and I have set up M365 account for all of you and shared the username login. So hopefully we can just use that, right? Once you do this Teams log, like the installation, it needs to have Node 16.6. So make sure that you install Node 16.6 before, because once you start this, right, it actually checks for a lot of requirements. So you can switch to this one. This mode, like if you click on Teams shell, it will actually switch over to that mode, and then couple of things you have to remember. One is you need to log into the account here, right? You need to log in. You need to set up your account, and then it gives you two options. One is M365 login and the Azure login, right? So first, since we are testing locally, we don't need to log into Azure yet, but you can log into your M365 account with the username password I've given you, and then it should actually say side loading enabled because I made you all administrators, so you should be able to get it. So once you do this, right, the environment is a local deployment and it's a development deployment. Development deployment is actually happening on Azure, and local deployment happens locally on your in your server. But even though it's a local deployment, it's actually going to go and provision a lot of things inside the Azure Active Directory of this M365 tenant. It's not using the Azure AD. It's actually using the tenant that we have used in the M365 account. So I can show you all of that, right, in a bit here. So once you do the local, actually there's a lot of configuration files that they have built behind the scenes, and we can review that maybe in the next session. But to make this simpler, all you need to do is you need to make sure that you have logged into the M365 account, and you just hit run and start debugging. Right, once you hit start debugging, it will start validating all these things. So this is the real cool part. So it actually logs into your M365 account, and it checks a lot of things, and then it actually does npm install on the folders that are like most of this are React based. So it's actually logging into the cding to that directory where the React app is, and then it's actually doing npm install to install all the packages and dependencies that are required. And then what it does is it actually does a React start in the scripts. We can do all that manually, but none of that is required because this will automatically set up everything. And then it takes a while for this to install all the packages because it's a new application. And once it does it, we'll see that it makes it so easy. So it um, just logs you in directly, right? So another thing I want to show here when we are here, let's see, want to show you admin M365 admin center. So I need to kind of uh, let's see here, developer subscription. So sorry, it's been a while for developer subscription here. This one, developer program, and then you need just if you're logged in, you just click on this. Don't I mean if you're not creating a new one, right? So I'm signed in. So if I go in here, um, I'm signed in, right? So then I can go here and then I can actually go view account. So this is my account on Microsoft.com. Me control, right? That's you kind of, you need to remember that. That's where it goes. And this is where we have provisioned everybody, right? And if you kind of, I can think I've showed this before. This is where we set up everything. So now this is installed everything. It installed all the dependencies. Like if you see here, it has dependent. It has installed all the dependencies and launched the Teams front end, right? So if you go back to the browser here, you can see that it's actually launching the Teams app. So now this is an example. So you can say turn on here. And then you can, the important thing to remember is here, you can actually add it to a team or a chat, but or as an app. So I'm just going to add it as an app, makes it simpler. So once you see it right in action, you'll be able to see it. So the cool, so just one, I don't know why there's a glitch or not, but it actually put the app here. If you see here, that's the app is right here, and I can close this. And now you can see that that tab is already there, right? So this is kind of how you can build a TeamsFX app to start with, and it gives you quite a bit of a head start. And if you come back here, you can actually see that most of the code is under this tabs folder. And this is where the React app is. This whole entire tabs folder is actually a React app. So if you're going to open this up, you will see that there is a components folder. If you open that up, then there will be different code bases for different tab. So in this particular out of the box example, tab.jsx is the main one. And once you have the concept of this JSX outside, it actually refers to components inside the sample. So if you click on welcome here, it actually opens up another JSX file, which is under the sample directory, right? So now you can actually go here and And now you can actually change this. It's a live deployment. So save it, it compiles it, and then redeploys it. And then if you back up here, you can see Venki testing here got changed, right? So this is pretty cool.